My name is Dwayne Spradlin. I'm the CEO of Innocentive.com. Open innovation is the notion that organizations that have traditionally looked inward to create products, to create scientific breakthroughs, things that advance their business, typically are using people that look and act a certain way. It's the four walls of the enterprise, the traditional not invented here. Open innovation tries to smash that paradigm and says you should be dealing with individuals and organizations from all over the world. What's important is pushing your business or your foundation or your mission forward. It's less important how you get the innovations you need to do that. An organization that wants to be an open innovation style company, as an example, will typically look at all of the projects in their portfolio, all the strategies, all of the ways forward, and they will portfolio manage those into different kinds of initiatives and agendas that need to be pushed forward as a business. And then they'll choose very strategically which of those will go to the outside world, which to the inside world. They may decide a new line of business really needs to be acquiring another company. That's been done more traditionally. But when you get down to brass tacks and you say, you know what, we need a new surface material for a product we want to take to market, or we want to invite our customers in to help us redesign the next generation wireless network routing technology, right? That's when organizations typically fall down a bit. So in this new world, these large organizations are saying from the top down, a substantial portion of our innovation is going to come from the outside world. We are going to look at every one of our projects and we're going to look for opportunities to put those on the outside. Actually, if we did it right, we'd say we should look for opportunities to do it on the outside and only do some of this innovation on the inside if we have to. The organizations would structure so they're better at product management, the financial management. They should be calculating ROIs on every possible project. And you essentially realize then that you've got an organization that's focused on doing innovation wherever it happens. Wherever is the best place to do the innovation. Companies should really decide whether the world is their laboratory or the laboratory is their world. And for companies where the laboratory is their world, they tend to be inward thinking. For companies where the world is their laboratory, it's an entirely different mindset, and structurally they're organized to make that happen. A business, whether it's a large business, a small and medium business, should be thinking about what's profitable, right? Where's the product I should be taking to market? Who am I going to sell it to, et cetera? How do I build the right communities? Customer communities, employee communities, partner communities. And by the way, all of those communities are sources of innovation. And that becomes part and parcel to this notion of a constant innovation model. And so in the open innovation world, these sustainable businesses are focused much less on having to invent every piece of what they do and much more on creating a sustainable structure with which they can constantly innovate. So when you look at businesses that are now really learning how to tap their customer base, user-driven design, 5 years from now, I think everybody's going to look back and say that was intuitive. But the reality is 5 years ago, what you actually had to do to have a user-driven design style business was not done very often. People were really starting to get their hands, dirty trying to make it work. Today, companies that get the killer business model, right, can effectively mine their communities and can create constant innovation through the use of their communities and application of their business models will be the businesses that I think strive in the 21st century. And it's even more so because now we're living in a world where you can get to market instantly. You can outsource manufacturing and other structures instantly. So it's the better business model. It's who are your communities and mine them effectively and creating a structure that lets you constantly innovate. That's the winning ticket. From an organizational point of view, it really is about talent management. And now the tools are changing, but the words are often the same, right? It's about attracting talent, right? Retraining, developing talent and retaining talent. So in this new world, we see much more of a shift towards variable talent models. And certainly engaging open innovation is a structure that allows organizations to maybe the next 20 heads I hire, I don't actually hire. I virtually hire them. I get access to them through some of the global open innovation networks, or I get access to them through finding the right partners to help me move ahead as a business. And that may very well be a superior economic for me as a business to manage risk and costs. looking at this through the open innovation lens, it's also a way for me potentially to get to market better, faster, and more cost effectively. It's not just the offset of cost, but in a world with 7 billion people, 6 billion people, you've got people all over the planet that may actually have better ideas to solve a problem. They may actually be able to bring, to bear some kind of an idea from another industry that would have never occurred to my organization. What InnoCentive does is we've got a network today of almost 180,000 what we call solvers from around the world, 200 plus countries. 60% of them have masters and PhDs. They have backgrounds in everything from aerospace engineering, to civil engineering, chemists to doctors. And what they are is they're available to work on problems. Now, to answer your question, in our style of innovation, it's not about managing the workforce. We do that via the model we engage in for the enterprise. So if the enterprise has been able to identify effectively that it needs a new kind of a material for a product it wants to take to market, and it's been unable to develop that material, what it will do is it will work with InnoCentive or another party and develop what we call a problem statement. And that problem statement is a well-defined need and success criteria coupled with an inducement, call it a prize. So for $50,000, if anybody in the world can solve this problem for me, for $50,000, I'll take that intellectual property and gladly pay you the prize. Now, this is a really important model because what it does is it changes the question from how do you manage a global workforce of smart, intelligent, creative people to how do I get everybody in the world who's capable, ready, willing, and able to work on this kind of a problem, going to work on the problem for me, and I really only want to pay for success. So this prize-based or inducement-based model turns out to be incredibly powerful. Companies this time around, I think, have been much more resistant to just fundamentally cutting their innovation spend. And I think it's a lot more mature way of looking at the world because what it's saying is we can't control necessarily demand for our products during the downturn, but we want to be ready and willing and able with all the right products when the economy comes back to capture the full opportunity. So we're going to be there to take advantage of this crisis, if you will. Now, that's important because organizations then that substantially cut headcount, that substantially changed their business models, that made other kinds of changes to their business may very well be at a disadvantage. So in a crisis like this, the reality is you may not have the money to innovate the way you did. So you've got to look at how do I do both? How do I continue to be innovative? How do I continue to get my products out to market? But I may not have quite the same in the way of resources to put towards innovation as I did before. So that's where something like open innovation comes to bear because these companies know they need to continue to innovate. They simply can't turn it off because they'll pay for that for years. But they got to do more with the same or less than they've ever had before. The smart CEOs right now are using this crisis as a vehicle not only for looking to capture more market share when the economy returns, but as a fundamental pivot point on which to change the way their businesses operate to make them more competitive in the future. An organization called the Oil Spill Recovery Institute, based in Cordova, Alaska, was really formed as a partnership between not-for-profit interests, government, and the oil companies after the Exxon Valdez spill. Now, what they were focused on was how do you clean up oil spills in subarctic waters, which requires kind of a different way of thinking. Oil in subarctic waters gets so cold, it's almost like a solid. You can't pump it. So what most people don't realize is that there are still something like 80,000 barrels of oil off of Prince William Sound, off the coast of Alaska, that still haven't been cleaned up from the Exxon Valdez spill. So, in the last couple of years, I think after really years of trying to figure out how to get the oil out and running up against this problem of very, very viscous, almost solid oil, they put a challenge on the InnoCentive network to try to find a solution to this. And in about 3 months, this was put out all over the world, and dozens and dozens of really interesting, innovative, creative solutions came in. But they awarded the winning solution to a construction engineer from the Midwest. And what he recognized is that keeping oil liquid in cold waters is not so different than trying to keep cement liquid as I'm pouring a foundation, right? Again, organizations would have never thought to look there. That's the power of diversity, getting everybody involved in solving a problem. So it turns out what he recommended is that if you will, off-the-shelf construction equipment that vibrates the cement, keeps it liquid, with slight modifications could be used in the barge systems that are really trying to pump the oil off the bottom of the Sound. So they're doing that now. And what's most exciting about this, for me, is the follow-up. That was a $20,000 prize. And this gentleman, John Davis, flies himself to Cordova, Alaska, using the prize money to meet the people he was helping. And now he's doing pro bono work for them. And the Oil Spill Recovery Institute now runs challenges routinely over Innocentive. They call Innocentive their virtual laboratory. We are their laboratory. But the real moral of the story for me is this. He didn't do it for the $20,000. He did it to make a difference in the world. And that passion is probably one of the most important currencies you can imagine.